How's that? All right, everybody, welcome to the February 2025 coffee hour. I thought this day we could go around and introduce ourselves. Sometimes we do it at the end, and then some people have to leave early, so I don't want to miss anybody. So before I start the presentation, why don't we go around and just say your name and what park or parks you're interested in working in.
Todd Knaut, work at Lower Mud Lake with Kathy, and my main property is Waubesa Wetlands.
And I'm Leah, Land Restoration Specialist.
Jack Kessler, Schumacher Farm.
I'm Anissa Simula, and I'm new and undecided.
You can influence.
Liz McBride, a beautiful park. You really Don Farm. Got the P, so Lower Mud Lake.
Paul Sutter, Steward Park.
Mary McDonough Sutter, Paul at Stewart.
I am Shane Otto. I'm one of the botanist naturalists here. A couple new faces. Thank you for coming, and thank you all for the work you do. Dennis Tandy, mostly higher heights, but also some work with groundswell. We just planted a 5-acre prairie weeks ago. It's really exciting.
June and New and Lakeview Hill is closest to home, so that's what we get.
Higher heights is right on the
Hi everyone, I'm Jo Gordon Hill. I'm the new assistant volunteer coordinator, so first assistant.
And then those online, maybe Kylie, you want to go?
Hello, I am Kylie, and I work at Token Creek.
And Don volunteering here, and I've been getting really involved in a lot of the seed collection, processing, and I've so far missed the spreading one yet. I've still got to try to find some time to catch one of those, the hand spreading. So thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks. Everybody here. All right. The internet's cold too. 19th, 2025. This is from an unseasonably warm workday we had recently at Halfway Ready Schoolhouse, which had a huge turnout. Somebody may have been there. There we go. Okay. So not a lot for upcoming trainings this month. We don't have our next coffee hour scheduled because we're about to go into the burn season. A lot of our regularly scheduled events we don't have during burn season because we're kind of on call to be burning anytime. So hopefully those will be restarting probably sometime mid-May is when our next one will be. So, and then our prescribed fire training, some of you may have seen some emails from us about this. That's Saturday, March 15th. It is already full, but if that's something that you need, we do have like a backup list. So you can email me about that or do so on Better Impact. There's as you sign up, you could say I want to be on the backup list if it's full. And I am going to talk a little bit later on about what that training is and why it is different this year. So we will come back to that. And then this was something we talked about last time, just that we are talking about having future safety trainings for our certified land stewards, similar to some that we might have for our staff. And for those of you who may be leading your own work days, maybe that would be a useful thing to have. So just something to keep in mind if you're interested in that, or you have questions about it, or something you want to happen, email us about it. For us to be able to host trainings, we kind of have to show that we have interest. So if that's you, let us know. Upcoming Land Steward work days, those that are hosted by our Land Stewards. We've got one coming at Cherokee Marsh, we've got a couple at Donald and Lower Mud, and one at Stewart. What we have on Better Impact or on our website, but if I've ever missed anybody and you want to be on there, please just let us know. We're happy to.
Cherokee Marsh one got moved 9 a.m. to 12, and they're going to be burning.
Gotcha. Okay, noted. Cherokee Marsh switching in the
Also
morning.
for Cherokee, there's going to be a burn Saturday for brush piles because Monday was too cold.
Excellent. Everybody's trying to get the pile burning in, so now's a good time. Did anyone have any other work days or workday changes to notify us about? And then for upcoming staff-led work days, we have our last couple tree and brush work days. We're finishing those up in early March. So there is one at Silverwood this Friday, and then again on next Friday. Nothing this coming Tuesday, but then we have tree and brush at Anderson the next Tuesday, March 4th. And our last women's work day of this winter is Thursday, March 6th. And that is going to be, oh, I didn't change the location on there. That's my bad. That is at McCarthy, not Lake Farm. So if you're interested in coming to that, the last one, we had a really good day where we managed not to freeze our fingers off. That's what that photo's from there. And then, as I said, we're getting into burn season. So if you are someone who is interested in prescribed fire and is planning to be burning with us, keep an eye out on your emails. We will be, hopefully in the next month, starting on our prescribed fires and sending out emails about that. So, and again, I'm going to have a whole thing talking about how that works on Better Impact coming up here.
We have a question on that. When you put out those notices, they fill up so fast. Is there any way that there can be a slot or two saved temporarily for, you know, kind of people from their home site? Because it just, I mean, if you don't see the email when it comes out in the morning, it's, well.
We don't have it set up for that, but on our end as administrators, we can make that happen, and we can also like add in a slot. So
We've done that for other things, like,
yes,
and we just make the cap smaller and then we can make the cap bigger once we've heard back from you.
Yeah,
We can also put the word out to you sooner, but I guess probably not possible for burns.
yeah. I mean, with burns, it's about as soon as it gets. So, but yeah, that's a good point. We can definitely, Joe and I can work on that to make sure to have that for you guys. Yeah.
Is there a list of where burns are planned?
For us, maybe, but it's everywhere.
Yeah, we have our you know, burn plans for every park, and I don't know how many plans we have right now, probably 100 different plans. And of course, there might be some units that we want to burn a couple of years in a row for a variety of reasons. But usually it's a 3 to 5 year cycle, and you know, the wind is the biggest factor.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into it a little later here about some other environmental factors like why and how we prioritize some of those sites. So,
Yeah, we actually got an email about this recently from a student who was interested in doing studies looking at like effects before and after prescribed fire, and they were like, "Oh, could you like send me a list of each of the scheduled fires that you have this spring?" And I said, "I can try to email you the day before, but it's a little hard to plan it out that far in advance."
Just for Waubesa, since it's right adjacent to DNR property, is there coordination between Jared, I guess, and whoever?
we have some coordination with Julie Woodholm, who's the wildlife biologist for Dane County.
Okay.
We don't have very much communication with Jared, a little bit, but not much. So we're looking to deepen that relationship with our partners. So
okay.
Maybe someday, just not right now.
Okay, because there's a field just southwest of the DNR property, or it's or southwest of the county property. It's the southern end of the DNR property, and it's probably a 50-acre field. And then we were able to clear a path through from that into the county property, and hoping that we could do a burn from their field through and up into the field of and maybe the leaf litter in the county property.
Yeah, we would like to collaborate. Again, we've only been here 8 years. We've expanded a long ways. We've got a long ways to go for sure.
Yeah, fortunately, the bureaucracy side of that is a little slow, but
It's taken us about 2 years to get some kind of cooperative agreement with the wildlife management folks. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Yeah, but it's definitely a good spot for that opportunity for sure.
So Leah, I was just thinking that Jack could get a grant through the Remnant Prairie to have adaptive restoration come this spring. So for the student that reached out to you, I wonder if you could connect with Jack and see if that person would want to look at the remnant prairie, because we know for sure that's gonna get burned.
Yeah.
It will be, within a window starting as soon as next week and going through. So,
That is an excellent point. I'm gonna make a note about that.
yeah, so, and also Jack has some really good data. He had, Quadrat's studying that prairie slope from, I think, 10 years ago now, or close to 10 years ago. So that would be, I think, that's a well-studied area.
Yeah.
And Jack is very dedicated to that spot, so it would be really good learning experience for students, I would think.
That is a great point, Mary. Thank you. I'm definitely gonna email them about that. Yeah. Quick note of other upcoming opportunities. We talked about this last time, but it's now available to register the annual Land and Water Volunteer Summit. It's on March 1st, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Joe, do you have anything to add about that?
Today's, I think, the last day to register.
Yeah, I think we were just opening it like the last time that we had our coffee hour, so.
Yeah, so definitely, if you're not going, I don't know, there's gonna be some great keynote speakers, there's gonna be somebody from OFS, there's gonna be a lot of different staff from the county doing kind of like a lightning round with lots of different like specialized, like 10 or 15 minutes workshops for their focus. So it's gonna be from the ripple effect, storm water management, and soil sampling. That's about all I can say right now, but there should be information on that.
Not just parks. A
Yeah,
lot of
not
times
just
these summits have been focused on the parks and what they're doing at parks is certainly broaden the scope of all of the Land and Water Resource Department at this time. Hopefully I did as well.
No, I just,
Yeah. No, so if you want to know more about other parts of our department, it's a good time to do so for sure. And then I left this on there just because we talked about it last time, and I don't know if everybody has heard about this yet. Dane County Parks 2025 Challenge. I believe it's that trying to get to every recreational park in 2025. That is the challenge, visiting all of them. And if you have volunteer hours with us on Better Impact,
actually, I think it looks like that we can't get the discount after 131.
oh no, ignore that part. You can't get a discount anymore, sorry. But yeah, it is still ongoing. So if you know someone who's interested in this year-long challenge, could be fun. I don't really know what the reward is other than like a t-shirt and say you did it, but. Okay. So we were talking about fire already a little bit. Shane, you want to talk about our prioritization process?
Yeah, so like I mentioned, almost every burn unit we have is on the docket for every year. But we know that we cannot burn every burn unit because we have so many burn units. So of course, we'll take units that take priority will be units that we have burned over the last couple of years with the right parameters as far as wind conditions and so on. So every day, we get into the office. We're looking about 3 days out onto the weather to see what the wind directions and speed of things are, to see if we're going to likely be burning, so we can try to get some notifications out through our volunteer software and things like that. And oftentimes, you might be wondering why Dane County Parks isn't coming to your park on a specific day when it's, things are ready to burn. And, there's a art to prescribed burning, and then there's also a science to it. And I feel like we're really honing in on how we're doing things. I worked for the Fish and Wildlife Service for about 12 years, and they do a lot of research on their prescribed burning. Data comes to us from Nature Conservancy, really does a lot of research on the prescribed burning, and the timing of our burns for certain weeds especially is critical. Stewart Lake. They oftentimes see us come later in the year because we're burning at the woods there. And we're really targeting garlic mustard plants and Dame's rocket plants after they've emerged. And then we can come in there with a prescribed burn and knock that whole generation of plants out. So it's really strategic on how we're trying to do it. We don't want to come to the woods, on March 15th or March 16th, right after the prescribed burn training, when the plants haven't emerged yet, and get rid of all the fuel, which is leaf litter on the ground, and then the garlic mustard grows, and then we can't kill it. Then you got to go out and you got to spray it or pull it or weed whack or whatever. Prescribed burning can take care of many acres in a very short period of time with little effort to do so. So oftentimes we're targeting those woodland type or savanna type burns later in the year because of the weeds that are growing in there. And that is garlic mustard and Japanese hedge parsley are two of them that are very susceptible to fire. And they're a real pain for volunteers to deal with. So if we can hit the timing right, we can save you guys a lot of work. That is the whole premise behind weeding. Also, a lot of the brush that we're trying to deal with, buckthorn, resprouts, and honeysuckle resprouts, are not budded out or leafed out early on in the year. So all the energy is still down in the root system of that plant. And when you burn over the top of it, it just resprouts, regrows, and the fire really did nothing to that time. So once that plant has emerged for the year and leaves are out, and then we run fire through it, let's say closer to June 1. There's other factors there too, like the green component to the fuel. Things are going to be smokier, a little more dangerous for the firefighters. But we're probably going to have a little more toll on some of the wood invasives than we would if we came through early as well. So we're trying to make the timing of our burns as effective as possible, not just to go out there and burn it because burning is fun to do and we think it's a good resource, right? We're really strategically trying to burn these pieces at the right time. Now we can't always do that because we have 100 burn units or whatever the magic number is that we have. So we try to do it to the best of our ability. Start including some of those woodland burns, maybe in later May or something like that. Maybe not the ideal timing, but better than only getting 3 or 4 woodland burns in. So I'm going to tell you right now that we've been already talking in-house about our woodland burns for this year, and the lack of precipitation really affects the fuel moisture, right? It doesn't affect the prairie grasses so much. Those are 1-hour fuels. The fuels get wet really fast and they dry really fast. It's the 10-hour fuels, 100-hour fuels, 1,000-hour fuels that really are affected by the duration of moisture in the atmosphere, or rain, snow being on it, so on. So we haven't had any snow, very limited amount of snow. This last snow we had was light and fluffy, so there's not a lot of moisture content to it. So the fuels in those woodland situations are going to be very dry. If you're out burning piles right now, you might have noticed some trees catching on fire near your burn piles. Yesterday we had 4 trees starting on fire at Waubesa that we had to cut down. So I already know that those savanna units are going to be a headache for us because all the trees are going to catch on fire. Not all the trees, but a lot of the trees are going to catch on fire that are dead. And so again, that's part of our strategy when burning through our woodlands and savannas is the moisture content in those heavy fuels. We want that to be up there a little bit as well. Otherwise, we have to mop up sometimes for days. The DNR burned a unit last spring, woodland type unit, a lot of trees in it, and it was pretty dry last spring early as well. And they were on that fire for a week, having to mop up and deal with it. They knew they were going to have to do that, But that just means that they can't be out burning another unit because they have to spend 5 days out on that piece of ground after they do that one match, right?
What do you mean mop-up chain? What were they doing for those things?
Yeah, so it's Wisconsin statute that when we leave a prescribed burn, that everything is up. Everything is up, has to be cold. And a lot of the heavy timber was still on fire. And so they had to have someone there 24 hours a day to make sure that that fire wasn't getting out of control. So they were there constantly, maybe they only had one person there at night, just monitoring the situation. And then the crews would come back the next day to mop up, put out the blocks. Okay, yes.
I have a question about Birdsfoot Trefoil. You know that after you burn, you get wash on it. Was there a strategy for burning, the timing of that to, what's the best time to burn if you're trying to get rid of Birdsfoot Trefoil, or isn't there?
I would say that there's a couple of plants that aren't very strategic, that we, are real problem weeds. Things like crown vetch, Birdsfoot Trefoil, spotted knapweed, leafy spurge. I don't know if there's good timing for burning all those plants. Fire is a great tool, but it doesn't take care of everything. We're really going to have our best success with the annuals or biannual plants with fire. Perennials, even monocarpet plants are a little bit different and might not be as affected as much as those annuals, biannuals, and then the woody invasives as well can get impacted. Now it's hard to kill brush with fire. It's the young saplings that we're really hoping to take care of after we come through your areas and we cut down all the buckthorn, and there's this seed bank, that has been growing for years, and they all start to germinate. And those are the ones that are susceptible to that fire. They don't have that deep root base and the energy stored in that plant. They're just getting those little sprouts and then they're picking them off. So fire is part of our integrated pest management routine. We use it to the best of our ability. Hopefully we try to time things right for every part. Now that is an impossible task, but we do our best at it. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I don't know anything specific about going after Birdsfoot Trefoil. I haven't heard of anyone doing a fire study specifically on it. I know that for some invasives, more the woody invasives, there's been a lot of studies recently trying to look at growing season burns. The thought being that there was probably historically a lot of burning that might have happened towards like the end of summer, early fall, not during when we normally do it. And so that might have knocked back or had the ability to knock back a lot more brush. I would imagine that it could potentially also be true for some herbaceous species, just because, like Shane was saying, if they don't have that root mass, burning them when they are more out of the ground and are growing could potentially knock them back better, but I haven't seen anything specific about that being intended for herbaceous.
I was just wondering if maybe by giving the seed bank to sprout and then going after a little like herbicide, you could potentially get rid of that.
I think using more than one is definitely a good thing to try.
we did that on a couple of sites with the Fish and Wildlife Service. Crown vetch was bad, and we thought, well, let's burn it. Get every seed that is in that ground to sprout, and then go out and treat it after that. I mean, it was strategic from that standpoint. Like we're gonna come back in here and do this. This is a planned activity after the burn, because we know it's gonna go bonkers here, So I know you have a terrible problem with Birdsfoot and one of the fields over there, and I wouldn't say we're strategically planning, but we're waiting for that day when we can make that a priority.
Well, the thing that alarmed me was that in other fields west of Dane County, we really saw little to no Birdsfoot until we were growing last year for the first time.
Yes.
And then I spent the entire summer going after it.
So yeah, there are certainly lots of positives about burning, but there are some negatives. And we see a lot, not just with Birdsfoot Trefoil, but also crown vetch and the sweet clovers.
Yeah.
Sweet clovers, especially after we run a fire through, those things germinate like crazy, right? And so we just need to keep an eye on it. That's why we're always out monitoring our plantings, our burn units to see what's coming up in there. And, then strategically planning a mowing or spraying or Operation Fresh Start out to come out and take care of that. Yeah, so over the long run, the burning is going to do us a lot real good, but it's showing the ugly invasives, giving them a chance to sprout, and then we have to go back in and take care of it. Yeah, Todd?
You talked about fuels with the time component, like 1 hour, 10 hours.
Yeah.
Is that time to dry, or what was that time?
Yeah, so we talked about 1 hour fuels, 10-hour fuels, 100-hour fuels, and 1,000-hour fuels. So basically that hour rating is the time it takes for that plant to get wet, not burn, and then the time it takes for that plant to dry and to burn.
Okay.
So if the sun comes out, 1 hour fuel could possibly be dry and ready to burn in an hour. In the springtime, we get up in the morning and there's pretty much frost every day, right? So that fuel is moist. Yeah, the sun comes out very quickly. That fuel is dry and ready to go.
Got it.
If it rains for a whole day, those heavy 10 and 100-hour fuels, they get wet on the outside. It takes them that long to get dried out to catch fire.
Okay.
So that's basically, it's not exactly fact, but it is part of the science art burning, like knowing what your fuels are like and practically how long it's going to take for that stuff to happen.
Got it.
Because of course we don't have a exact 10-hour rainstorm. We don't have a 100-hour rainstorm.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's a specific size class that's in each of those. So
Okay.
I forget exactly what it is, but 1 hour is pine needles and twigs and tiny things, and then 10-hour gets to be a little bit larger sticks, and then 100-hour is 3 inches or larger, something like that. Yeah. So there's set amounts that gets up to 10,000 hour or whatever. But it's just something you sort of look at vaguely.
Thank you.
I'm wondering about what our restoration efforts should look like with regard to the potential for fire. So on our south-facing slopes or west-facing slopes, we might get that flush out of our buckthorn fairly early if we go through and spray it. But then, it looks like a good time to burn. Are we potentially creating a problem for the burners to come in when we've applied ultra at the concentration are we exposing you to something that we shouldn't be exposing you to? So should we be waiting until after burn season before we go after foliar spraying any of our heavier weeds? And along with that, we're always in a balancing act of what we should leave down in our savanna in terms of wood, dead wood, and for habitat. And we now understand that wood close to the trail areas is maybe a little bit better to leave than wood deep in the savanna. But in an especially dry year like this year, should we be more aggressive in taking off some of those ground heavy fuels in preparation for potential burn? So what does herbicide use look like getting ready for a burn, and what do the heavy fuels look like in this particular season?
Yeah, I think just because of the potential of the impacts that fire could have on that buckthorn, waiting just maybe a couple more weeks to see if we can get out there and do the burn would be benefit you guys from having to do that back-breaking work, or we can possibly top kill it or kill it.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that let us try to get the burn done first.
Okay.
I don't know about the herbicide effects on firefighters. I would think that if it wasn't recently applied, probably not very negative impacts, but it could be. You know, poison ivy smoke can impact people's lungs. They could get poison ivy in their lungs from that. I've heard of that happening. Never seen it happen, but I've heard that happening. And then I don't think that predicting, trying to predict what the fuels are going to be like the day of the burn is possible.
Yeah.
And, you know, 10, 20% dead down left in there after you've cleaned up is par for the course. And if it starts on fire on the burn, it starts on fire. We do have our crews go out the day of the burn or prior to, if we have some conditions that we can't burn in, and try to leaf blow around some of that stuff, as you well know, because we do want it there for the insects and the hibernation factor of some of the critters that might be out in the park. So yeah, I don't think that that factor should contribute, because we could be very dry up until March 15th, and then all of a sudden it could rain a bunch, and then you did that work for nothing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like that. As far as herbicide goes, I don't think that as long as like the time period between you applying and us burning was as long as like what we normally recommend, like on the signs, how long to stay out of the unit. 24 hours, I guess, 48 hours. I think as long as it was that amount of time, it would probably be fine as far as a risk to us. But like Shane was saying, I think, yeah, it's probably not necessarily worth it, because we might end up kind of undoing or doubling up on an effect that now you've spent time on. So yeah, it's probably worth waiting a little bit longer. As far as if it was like stump treatments, then I wouldn't worry about it, because those go through so much quicker and that's not going to burn up. But yeah, I would say for foliar, you might as well just wait a little longer.
Give us a call. Hey, you think you guys are going to make it or not? Yes. Go ahead and spray.
Yeah, we're looking at specific winds, like southeast right where our savannas, so I can kind of look ahead. I'm usually texting Lars, saying, what do you think about next Thursday? Oh, Mary, it is Tuesday, you're talking about.
Todd just texted me, and Dennis just texted me.
Any other questions about fire effects, fire timing?
Now, one more comment. I don't know if I'm talking too much
We got
here.
time.
It is, a lot of, I don't know if the right word is controversy, but that's the word I'll use. We have a lot of nesting waterfowl and birds in our prairies, and I've seen mallards nesting in our prairies in early March with 10 eggs. So they were laying their eggs very close to the end of February. So nearly every single time that we burn, we can be impacting wildlife, right? And if you come to our training, you'll see, that we try to mitigate that as well. But the reality of it is, yes, there's possibility of impacting critters. So the earlier we do it, the better chance they can re-nest. Ducks and all birds will try to re-nest. I actually flushed a turkey off a nest when I was collecting yellow cornflower. So that turkey probably tried to re-nest 5 or 6 times. She was sitting on one egg. So as far as the timing goes, that's also another reason we kind of start with our prairies as well and get those out of the way and then move to the things as well. The later in the season we're in those prairies, the more impact it has on the birds. Okay. All right. Take it away, Dave.
Any other questions, thoughts?
Shane?
Yeah.
I don't know if there's the fire weather app that you can get from NOAA. And so if people wanted to, because you can go out and you can put in a specific location, and it'll give you the fire weather for for that area.
So we have another tool we use that's also provided by NOAA. And we can look at the weather stations around the county, or around the state. So we often look at, Brooklyn has a weather station. It's a RAW station, which I don't know what that stands for exactly.
Something atmospheric weather, so.
So there's 3 of them here. So Oregon County has one, Fargo has one, actually 4, Dodgeville, and then there's one in Brooklyn. And so we can look at all of those stations, and they have a 7 days worth of information out there. And so we can trend that weather and try to get an idea of what those fuels and things can be like. Now that doesn't talk about what's going to be happening, like the wind and so on. But we are constantly tracking those fuels. And when we see the fuels getting down to 67% every day at these raw stations, we know things are really dry, and that's oftentimes to trigger that red flag warning that it cannot shut us down. But yeah, we use a lot of tools out there. We use NOAA all the time for our stuff. Any other point to that?
No, that was just, you know, for people that wanted a specific location. It's a good tool.
Great.
Yeah, there's a lot of awesome stuff out there with fire weather these days, and I like that it's kind of accessible to everybody. All right, if we can come back to this later if anybody has a thought about it, but immediately, everybody loves fire. We're so excited to talk about fire.
We have to look out for which neighbors have laundry on the line. Seems to be more important than.
A lot of factors involved.
Whose underwear is going to burn up today? Okay, so I mentioned that our fire training standards are changing a little bit, and we did talk about this last time, but I just wanted to kind of clarify and solidify this. In the interest of safety and making our safety managers happy, we are going to be now requiring a baseline training for fires. This is something we've recommended before, but it is now a requirement for anyone who wants to participate in prescribed fires with us. We are still accepting other programs that have recommended in the past, such as the NWCG 130-190. Prairie Enthusiasts has their own training. Still can't quite figure out what it's called. They call it something different every time, but they have a very good fire training. We are now working with the Southern Wisconsin Bird Alliance at Goose Pond. Isn't that what they're called, right? Okay. Used to be Madison, Audubon. They have a training, and then if you find another training that you think might, qualify, please just let us know. We'll see if it counts as an equivalent training for us and meets our standards. And then we are now hosting our own. That is the March 15th training. That is our Dane County Prescribed Fire 101. And so that's very similar to 130-190, but a little bit condensed. It will be classroom, not live fire exercises. And it's not a fire refresher. So if you already have that baseline training, you do not need to take this class. You're good. And we just need to have your certification of whatever you have already taken, which we'll talk about in a second. So yeah, this is just for people who are new, who don't have that training yet, or don't have anything official, even if you have experience. We will not be having a fire refresher this year, kind of starting from a blank slate of everybody's getting certified this year, getting their certification online, and then we will start requiring annual fire refreshers starting in 2026. So we'll have that baseline training that you only have to take one time, and then annual fire refreshers starting next year. And we're going to try to host a couple opportunities for those to make sure that we're not missing anyone. And then we are hoping to have at least 2 of our baseline, the 101 trainings a year. So probably like one in the summer and one in the winter. And then I mentioned this last time, we are going to try to work in a fitness questionnaire. It's not something that we have written out yet, but we have plans to get this out to all of our certified burners, just because we kind of want to make sure that everybody's understanding what baseline you need to be at, or fitness-wise just heads up about that. You've probably already got emails from me about it. You will get more. I do apologize. It's a lot of doubling up of emails because we're switching to communicating solely through Better Impact. So while we make that transition, there's a lot of doubling emails going around. I am going to talk about how to get your certification on Better Impact, but is there any immediate questions about the timeline of this training?
What I have a comment.
Okay.
You don't have on there the Ralph Shepard volunteer training.
Oh yeah, I didn't put that on there. My bad.
That's okay.
I was writing this very fast yesterday. Yes, the Ralph Shepard training through DNR, but we hosted it. That happened in the last couple of years. It's got a number to it, but I can't remember. Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, Ralph Shepard DNR training that we were hosting in 2022 and 2023 also counts. That is a baseline. If you had that, you should have a certification from it. You're good.
So a lot of you probably already have some of this training in some form or another.
Yes.
But if you don't have any of these other trainings, you will need to get them. Our past refreshers in that. So just want to be clear. You get a lot of questions about this. So giving out. Okay.
Cool. And please direct your questions about this to myself or Lars. Claire is very busy right now, so if you can direct any of your questions about online stuff to myself, and then questions about the overall training, you can bother Lars about, or you can bother Shane, but I was letting him out of this one. So.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Apologize for the background sounds. So for uploading your certification onto Better Impact, I believe most of you have a profile on here now. So this is true for any kind of certification that you want to upload, but I'm going to specifically show the prescribed fire one. This is what your homepage should look like. There is this tab at the top that says My Profile. You want to click on that, and it'll give you a drop-down menu. Within that menu, it says Additional Info, and that is what you want to click on, and that will take you to where you can upload all of your certifications. So what it will look like is sort of like this list on the right, and I've kind of made a larger version of the header there, so it says DCP Prescribed Burn Certification, Prescribed Burn Qualifications. So it'll have this list of the different types of qualifications that you can give us, and all you have to do is select where it says Choose File, and then upload whatever the file is that you have, 13190, the Ralph Shepard training. You will get physical certificates from our training, but you don't need to upload those because the training is through Better Impact, so it will automatically count it for there. So just FYI. And then any certification that you upload, just make sure that you then scroll down to the bottom of the page where it says Save. Make sure you hit Save, otherwise it will not be there. So yeah, that's just a run through of how to put your certifications online. My profile, additional info, and then scroll down to whichever one it is and upload it. This will be on YouTube, as it always is. I put all of our coffee hour recordings on there, so if you want to come back and hear this again, you're welcome to find it. I will also be sending out an email about this soon to everyone, and then, of course, you can always call us or email us. We also have the ability to do it on our end. It's just hard for us to get to everybody at once, and we have hundreds of people's certifications, so if you can try to upload it yourselves, that is so much easier for me. So, any questions about that? You can also ask Joe questions.
Yeah, and if you're having a hard time with the system, you can also just literally email me your thing and I can put it on for you. Yeah. More tracking them down that we can't do.
Yeah. We don't know who all has certifications, but
always reach out to us. It's a very complicated situation. Some some of you folks have been burning since Wayne's day and maybe had some training back then and years and years ago, and that stuff was archived by Rhea or Wayne, and then we came and Rhea was helping us, and now Claire is here. There's been a lot of moving parts over the last 10 years, so even longer than that. So we're trying to get everything in the same place now and make the transition into the future of this program much simpler.
And if you think you took one of those baseline trainings but you can't find your certification for it, please reach out to us anyway. We might have it archived somewhere, potentially. We want you to hold on to your own, but if you can't find it, we may have it somewhere in old paper files.
The nice thing about my impact is you won't have to hold on to it once you upload it into that.
Yes, correct. Once it's on My Impact, we'll be able to see it forever and you don't have to worry about those files getting lost.
Are you going to add an ATV certification on there? So I can drive instead of.
I don't think we have approval to do that yet.
Not yet.
I know
Again, we're feel like we're still in the infancy of our program here, and we have a lot of room to grow. I don't know what that means exactly, but we do have a new risk manager. That's all I know.
We don't want to ask too much of them real quickly. They might get mad at us. Yes. Fire is a lot of liability, and my screen's freaking out on me. And we don't want people to take it away from us because we scared them by being unsafe. There we go. So that was all that I had as far as slides go. We still have a ton of time, so we can get to whatever questions people have. But before we do that, I have a question for all of you. So this is something that Lars and Shane and I have been talking about for a while. We would like to come up with a somewhat formalized system in the future for land stewards mentoring other land stewards. Some of you have been doing that already. Like Mary and Paul have been mentoring folks, and I've been reaching out to our new land stewards to find people to mentor them. But we're thinking about in the future maybe finding a way to make that more formalized so that new land stewards who come on aren't feeling kind of lost, and they have like a system they can go through to get trained, especially when we don't always have time to meet with everyone, so it can be super convenient for them to learn from those who are already doing it. So is that something that people feel the need for? Is that something that you all are interested in? Would you like to get on a list to be mentors if you aren't already? Is that, do you really not want to be? Say, don't ask me to mentor people, please. That's okay too. Just want to open discussion about that.
Well, I know when I started, it would have been helpful, I think, because I was, starting from ground zero as a land steward, and you guys were great, Lars and Shane, comes down with the drop of a hat, but there are other aspects of it. It's always nice to have somebody who can call. Have a question? And now Mary and Paul are going to come down tomorrow and teach Wendy and I how to run brush piles, and that's really terrific. So sounds good to me.
I think it's a good idea. I wonder if we could try to organize the mentorship by those 3 areas that, like, I don't know, like more like our part of the county versus their part of the county or whatever. Isn't there like 3 where the rangers go? Like
there's multiple, yeah.
Yeah, there's the units that are connected. Yeah, with maybe the campground, a campground as being the center of the work unit.
Yep.
It might be nice to try to arrange by work unit, because I'm just, maybe it's not true, but it seems like in the driftless area, we have different contours of stuff that look different from other areas.
Sure,
and, to the north, the prairie areas have different issues. for us being, I don't know how many other parks are connected to a residential area. There's considerations there, so it might be nice to geographically kind of identify who might be mentors in this area versus another area. But we're kind of, Paul and I couldn't do what I do if it wasn't for Paul, because I don't have the strength even to do some of the pull starts and that kind of thing, but we're both chainsaw certified, but I don't want to touch chainsaws. So, you know, we can we help each other through, and then in that way we can help the next folks pretty easily. But it'd be nice if it was geographical, and it would be nice if people can kind of think, mentors themselves can think about what their strengths are and what they can work with people on.
Yeah,
So,
and I was going to say it might be nice to categorize what people feel their strength is. For instance, I would like someone I could reach out to about brush pile burning, because I know how to do it, but I've never done it on my own, and that's holding me back. I feel like I don't want to plan something and do it, and I'm not really quite sure yet what I'm doing.
Let's burn a brush pile, Kathy.
What?
Let's burn a brush
All
pile.
right. Things like that. Or maybe someone who's just starting with, invasive tree and shrub removal, and someone's done a lot of that, so they can use them too.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think I would like at some point to have either like a written list or maybe like a online chat function or something where, yeah, you have these kind of categories of, oh, are you interested in working on this thing in this area? Here are these, 5 land stewards who are already in that area and they're good at that, and they would, be happy to be in contact with you and, help you learn whatever that is. So yeah, I'm just trying to think about how we'll organize this. So this is excellent.
In the training, do you ask people like where they live and what parks might be close to their location?
In the land steward training?
Yeah.
I think in the beginning we sometimes will ask like where people are from, what they're interested in, but we don't like write it down or anything.
Okay.
Keep track of it. But we certainly could. We could have that be more part of like the questionnaire at the end. That could be a question like, so what area do you want to work in? Where do you need help, etc. And then that could be a way to get ahead of that for sure.
yeah, and what connections can we help you make?
I didn't know if you do that because Lars contacted me about someone who just recently finished the training and is from Columbia County and wanted something close.
Yeah. That's just us remembering that person, said it. I'm from Partyville,
Yeah.
That's close.
Sorry, my computer just told me that it's running out of battery even though it's plugged in, so I don't know what's going on.
There's
right
a
now.
lot of weird things been happening with computers.
Yeah, there sure have been.
Right.
It's all Shane's fault because he's here. Okay, well, it says it still has time, so whatever. Yes, all of that. I like it. I want it to be not just something we kind of hodgepodge remember later on. Oh, I haven't heard from so-and-so in a while. Maybe they need help. That, but to have it more formalized so that, if we're too busy and things are, no one's slipping through the cracks, So I like that idea. It's kind of right up front. What do you need? Who can we connect you with?
And Operation Fresh Start too, is another resource that we have that can help you with some of those things. There are crew leaders of Danny's new right now, but the other crew leaders have been burning brush piles in our parks for a while and helping burn piles. That's just an example of tasks, and they can help you through it too. Like here's what I need to do. We talked about it, and they're professional crew leaders, right? So they know what they're doing at Sewer Lake. They know what they're doing at Kathy's over there, and so on and so forth. They can help guide too as part of the process of crew, and lots of other benefits for you as well.
Does the crew have to be requested through you or?
Yeah, that's usually how it works, yeah. Request through me and then I'll send them out. You know, other times we'll do it on our own, like we know, maybe not all at your place, but maybe Kathy has some Birdsfoot Trefoil that needs to be handed to it. And, you know, we'll get them out there to take care of that business. Just so we know that it's there. And Kathy's on vacation, why?
Are they able to spray?
Jake's crew can spray, the older crew can spray, but not the legacy crew to stay there. I mean, they can do stumps and things like that. They have to be 18. Some of those kids are not 18, so that's a generalization that they have.
Anybody not want to mentor? Anyone like to make sure they're not on my list to contact for that?
Which is fair, if you're just like trying to keep going with your work.
Well, I've already kind of trained and Land Steward at Norwood Lake, so.
Completely fair. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we realize that like some people want to be a land steward to lead work days or mentor a lot of people or have a capacity to do that. And some people do that a little bit, and some people just want to work on their own. That's also fine.
Yeah.
So.
We all have our capacities, we all have our passions, right? And some people love teaching others, right? Some people are teachers, right? So we have that background, and other of us are lone wolves, so and that's the way it is, but we still love what we do, so it's all acceptable.
I think something we talked about maybe 1 or 2 coffee hours ago too, that one of you suggested, I can't remember who it was, but having like some way that land stewards could be in contact with each other, like maybe if there was a group message kind of system. I haven't had time to look into that as much as I would like to, but the bug in Claire's ear about potentially seeing if we could have like a better impact group that could contact each other, or an email chain or something that would work with people so that, have this collective knowledge of land stewards, similar to what we have, here at our coffee hour. But, if you had a thought about, I don't know what this plan is, I hope someone could ID this for me. And, you could always email us, of course, but it might be a few days to get back to you, et cetera. Maybe you could, put it in this chat function, and then some other land steward would see it and go, oh, I know what that is, blah, blah, and just send you a message about it. So.
It used to be like Facebook, but Facebook's not used as much as it used to be.
Yeah.
But you can have a private Facebook.
Yeah, this is true.
We talked about that. I think there's things to figure out. No matter
Yeah, we
what
have a
way we do
Facebook
it.
group. It's private.
Does Better Impact have a forum chat function kind of?
Sort of. Yeah, it's sort of limited, and I think we're also still sort of learning it, but it's potential.
Yeah. There's Better Impact has a lot of stuff on the administrative side that is like for a lot of different kinds of organizations, and so we haven't explored all of it yet. It's nice, it has a lot of options, but it means that we don't fully know what it is. So maybe in the future we'll find something that works for that. But yeah, we wanted to, be in a way that's accessible for people. So, but yeah, Facebook group might be.
So as far as that kind of stuff, we as, of course, just gotten on board with this year, almost a year, and been here with a couple months, and then Claire's been here a few years, but Lars and I have been here 8 years. Neither of us have social media accounts, so we need some help getting into the correct 2025 time frame too with some of these things. So really having these younger folks come on are just going to help take us to the next level, and hopefully we can transfer that information to them. Well, it's just technologies. I'm a little behind on that part. We've been out digging too many weeds in our lives.
It's called priorities.
Yeah, priorities, right.
Rather those weeds than the Facebook weeds.
So we look forward, we've come a long way. And the 8 or so years that we've been here, but there's a long ways to go. A lot of progress happening. I think we're just starting to hit our stride with some of this technology that is going to take us into the next phase of our work platform here. And Johanna and we are going to be a big part of that with this better impacts. I know we've had our learning curve with that, and still happening part of that learning curve.
Me too.
And just hang in there. We'll get through it, just like we had to get through signup.com, 10 years ago. This will be the next thing, and hopefully 10 years from now, we're not saying, whatever the next thing is our learning curve. Let's hope that their impact is for long. Questions?
A couple of meetings ago, somebody was talking about, I can't remember where it was. They were looking for some pine logs that wanted to do some building. And we have probably 30 or 40 pine trees at Waubesa that are scheduled to come down. They're a lot of work to cut down with all the branches, but those would be available. It was somebody that lived in Stoughton, I think. That was
Yeah.
looking to-
Yeah, Sienna
Yeah, that's right.
was looking for it. I contacted her and said that we had some logs down for her, and I haven't heard back, so I don't know
Okay.
if she's still interested in it or not. So
Okay.
we'll just keep piling logs as we go, and if she comes and gets them, not, we'll just buck them up and haul them down the fire with it.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen her around a little while either,
But
but
she has gotten some from you, right? From Schumacher. Somebody was saying that she did some.
Oh, I don't know if she
Oh,
did it or
okay.
not. But we had some down, and in fact, from the workday, they hauled some up, so they'd be easy to access, so I don't know. Yes.
Yep.
Couple of miscellaneous questions.
yeah, go for it.
Under 18, I know they can't handle herbicide. Can they haul brush when someone else is using herbicide, or help build the brush piles, or can it just not be there?
They can, we have both scenarios, right? They can be around their herbicide, they just can't be the ones that are advocating it, that's against the law.
Right.
But they can be here, it's their choice to be there, or their parents' choice. But another option is to wait until you're done with your workday and then go back in and dock the stumps. So you don't have to deal with that at all.
But then you gotta find them.
Then you gotta find yourself. So there's pluses and minuses to both, is it acceptable to miss 50% of the stumps if I'm helping, guide this young person into loving the outdoors? Probably worth it, right? In my opinion, getting people to love what we love is probably more important than killing all the stumps. Just know we gotta go back and forth retreat or whatever in the future.
But they can be, like I said, they can help with brush piles, they help, as long as they're not doing that operation.
OFS is doing that every day.
Okay.
The crew leaders are out there flying hers beside, and the crew is hauling the brush. So yeah, it's
Other question about cutting and treating brush when there's snow on the ground. Is there a point where you say, well, there's too much snow and we can't quite get the stump low enough, or we're afraid as the snow melts, it's gonna spread the herbicide? I mean, are there any policies about that, or you just do the best you can with that understanding?
Yeah, I mean, policy-wise, no, we don't have any policies about it, but I think it probably is up to your personal preference and individual situations. So we certainly have spots where we have stumps that are still really high from previous time that the snow is deep. Yeah, which can get in the way, but in an area where no one's walking around there's no machine going through, maybe that doesn't matter so much. wouldn't personally be worried about the snow melting and spreading it as far as stump treatments go, just because typically that's pretty localized, and so there shouldn't be like a lot that is being carried by the snow, and it's by the time it's that diluted, it shouldn't have too much effect either. But you know, if you were doing a ton of really dense stems and you thought you had a lot of overspray, and then it's going to melt the next day, maybe it'd be something to consider.
We've had the volunteers, you know, the passion is killing buckthorn, right? And of course, burning the piles is part of it, right? So you want to get rid of that slash so we can get in there and do whatever it is we need to do. You know, treat the weeds, spread the seeds, the next phase of the restoration. And years when we actually had winters, they would do the work, you know, cut it up, 1.5 feet off the ground or whatever the snow was, haul the brush away, burn the brush, come back in the spring, cut the stump, and then treat it. You know, and then they have a little stubby, you know, laying there that's not really a big deal, you know, that'll burn up in the fire or whatever. So I know it's a lot of work to do that, but I understand the process because of doing this work, like getting that brush out of there is important, and burning it is important. So if the snow's there, let's do it anyways. We'll come back and have to go through this extra step, but it's going to be worth it in their opinion. So I don't know if that makes good sense to you too. But it's a lot of work to try through that snow to, you know, to deal with it kind of depth. You can also just, you know, move the snow away from the stump with your feet, and then have a little lower at that time. More work. Everything is more work when you have all these caveats to it. So.
If the cutoff stem is say 6 to 8 inches up, is it less effective to put herbicide on it than if it's lower?
I don't think the effectiveness has anything to do with the height of the stump.
It should be okay.
Yeah.
I think Don has a question here.
Yeah, can you hear me adequately?
Very adequately.
Adequately, yeah. Anyway, back to, I'll call it winter application of herbicide to, we'll pick on buckthorn in particular. And I'm going to call it sprig diameter. You know, you get a lot of, you know, it roots out, you know, you get the big stuff. It's easy to find the 1-inch stuff and, you know, 3/8 or whatever. But I have a question about when it gets down to pencil size and even smaller, and it's winter time and it's deader than a doornail and you're trying to dab, and I'll use the word not spray. I'm just talking about the dauber style. You're just doing millimeters of surface. Is that I think in my observation, it's not too effective when you get down to really small saplings applying it in the cold weather. Do you have any evidence or anecdotal or advice?
Evidence, no, but I will say that we often will advise not to bother going smaller than like pencil or pinky size, partly just because it's so hard to find it, and it just comes to a point where it's kind of not worth it, and you're probably going to end up missing some anyway, so you might as well come back for that size as a foliar treatment later on. As far as effectiveness, I've heard people say that it's also more effective if you go that like pinky size and larger, but I don't know of any evidence that it's not, other than anecdotally. So I don't know if coming back and finding like, oh, all of my tiny stumps didn't die is from the fact that we just miss a lot because they're so small and it's hard to find, or if because when it gets down to that size, it truly is less effective. Scientifically, I don't know a reason why that would be true, just because as long as it is a living plant, it should, no matter how small that stem is, be able to absorb and translocate that herbicide. But I don't know of any evidence one way or another about it. So I think it's probably a good rule of thumb, a rule of pinky perhaps, to not bother going super small, just because either way, you're probably going to miss some. So.
Right. I think that makes, actually, it's the practical side of taking a human time, space, bending over, trying to find it, you know, effectiveness, and you got a lot of acreage, more acreages to do, and you may be doing also honeysuckle and everything else. So why spend your time on the little one when it'll come back? It's there. Things come back. You know, you can't kill everything in one swoop. It takes multiple years. So let it get. You know, you just keep not whacking away, but clipping, nipping, and in a way. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's, you know, a great thing that people have the time and energy to try to find every tiny little stem to see if it's effective, then go for it. But yeah, I think it's often just hard to accomplish one way or the other. So since we usually have to come back for some sort of follow-up treatment in that case anyway, then yeah, I would just stick to what's easy to find and see, and then you're gonna come back to the little stuff later.
The other part is, which I appreciate the comment on the earlier about late spring burns in woodlands, which can get, there's a lot of tricky parts of timing it, but the advantage of a later burn, if you have enough leaf litter, is you can make a better dent in that small stuff. Having the fire run through and killing it, really just taking it out rather than trying to find it by hand. Would that, you know, I mean, that's you know, the burn is my favorite way of getting at it, or most of the stuff. But thanks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Does that translocation to the root happen within the first few days? I'm thinking about G3 in the wetland. We had a bunch of stumps and treated when Lars was there, but now we're going to burn brush piles. And I'm thinking, wait a minute, if that gets burned, that stump gets burned now several months after it's treated, is that okay? Or does that little blue flag say, don't burn me because I'm still doing my job?
So this I actually can point to a scientific study about. I'm going to extrapolate a little bit because it was based on basal bark application. So it was not a cut stump, it was basal bark around the stem. But it is the same herbicide, and it is absorbing into the living part of the stem and translocating through. So I think it would work about the same, if not more so. I know someone who did a study looking at not only different times of year, but also whether it was burned afterwards or not, like pretty quickly afterwards, within a month. And what they found was that it, at least for honeysuckle, it was highly effective either way. So in areas where it was basal bark and then within a few weeks burned, it was still a very effective tool in permanently killing those plants in the long run. So I would think it would be the same as far as stump goes. So I wouldn't hold off on the stump treatment for that.